Hey friend, and welcome to Perfect Periods, the place where we discuss how to navigate different periods of life while perfecting our actual periods. What? Like it's hard? I'm your host, fertility awareness educator, Berri on Berri, but you can call me Berri. Here, you'll learn how to master your cycle so you can truly master your life. Now grab your favorite beverage and maybe a notebook, and let's dive right on in. Hey bestie, and welcome back to another episode. So today we are doing something very new for me, which is a month in review. So I want to preface this by saying I have never done something like this because honestly, I didn't really think I shared that much. But as I've kind of been refining my business, I've noticed that there are 4 things I'm constantly talking about as it relates to like living in sync with your cycle. I'm always sharing like productivity and performance hacks. I'm always sharing like a product. I'm always talking about like personal development in relation to these areas of life. And I am always sharing a different hack. So I wanted to take a moment and truly dissect the month with you. Now, before we get into these 4 areas, let me just share a quick life update. So we all know Berri's birthday was 2/22 and it was awesome. At 10 p.m., I lost power. And you guys, I literally did not get power until Sunday morning at 12:30 a.m. And like, y'all, let me tell you, these little luxuries in life that we have that we don't even realize are luxuries, I want to take a moment to be grateful for them. Some of the little luxuries I'm currently grateful for are a house that has power and heat and lights. I'm grateful for Wi-Fi because, wow, going to other places to work, it's like good, but also like kind of spotty, right? I'm also really grateful for Chase Bank. Now, listen, if you follow me on Instagram, you would know that on Sunday morning, instead of going to Target, I went to Walmart. And I went to Walmart because I knew I was going to spend a lot of money. But it was like one of those moments where I was like, okay, I can go to Target and know I'm going to spend about $500 or $600, or I can go to Walmart and just spend $300. And because I am in my like leveling up finance era, I was like, well, they always say wealthy people or rich people, wealthy, rich, abundant people truly do live beneath their means every time they level up. And because I have leveled up in my business so much, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do this whole living beneath my means thing and see how it makes me feel. So, of course, instead of going to Target, I went to Wally World. Well, at Wally World, y'all, I'm in the checkout line and my card gets declined several times. And I was so embarrassed, but I was like, why is my card not going through? Lo and behold, Chase was like, she does not go here. She does not shop at Walmart. We know she's a Target girly. So I even went over to the ATM to withdraw some cash. And Chase was like, no, boo. And I was like, oh my God. The fact that they know I'm a Target girl, right? And I know it sounds so silly, but in all honesty, I was so grateful. Like in the moment, I was like, y'all are trash. But after, I was like, I'm actually really grateful that they kind of know my tendency to shop so they could prevent fraud, right? So I want you to think of one little luxury in your life right now that you're super grateful for. And maybe you don't have to have like a story time saga of your power going out and then not being at your house for like several nights and, you know, your card getting declined because your bank thought it was fraud, right? You don't have to have that saga, but I really do want you to just think about what it is you are most grateful for in this moment. Let's just take a quick second to like think about that little luxury. Awesome. I'm so grateful that you took that time. Now let's get into the details of today's episode. So like I was saying, there are 4 areas that I'm constantly like referencing whether or not you notice. But with that being said, I want to go ahead and kick off with the product recommendation of the month. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you know that the product recommendation is Steady Mood from Lune. And the reason I chose this product is because so many of you have come at me with menstrual mood related things or anxiety. And while we don't have all of the answers as to what causes PMDD or menstrual moodiness or PMS anxiety, right? There are certain things that can help you manage it, and steady mood is actually one of them. So I will leave steady mood linked for you down below, and you can always use my discount code Berri20 at checkout to save. But I want to share with you why this was so important to highlight. So this product is built with different herbs and nutrients. Specifically, it has saffron and rhodiola. And what I love about saffron specifically is I'm used to it being like the one for food, right? Like put it in my rice whenever I'm having like Indian food or Mediterranean food. I've noticed saffron is there. But saffron not only helps you with mood management, it also helps curb PMS cravings altogether. And I just feel like mood and cravings go hand in hand, because oftentimes when you're in a bad mood, you start to crave things like chocolate. That's really, chocolate's not the enemy, right? However, because of this association, I think it's really important that, as your period bestie and your fertility awareness educator, I disclose these things to you. So that's why I liked rhodiola, because it's a great way to not only boost the mood, but also boost energy without caffeine. Now, steady mood is not just to help you manage your mood, right? It can also help you manage hormonal acne and brain fog and disrupted sleep. And I just know, like, I'm in my brain health era where I'm really doubling down on things to support my brain in the way that it's connecting dots, for lack of better words, right? So I wanted to recommend steady mood to you all, especially if you deal with moodiness or anxiety, especially if you deal with brain fog and like bad sleep, but also understanding that it can help you with bloating, hormonal acne, and cravings. So again, you can shop that via the show notes. You can use my code Berri20. And actually, there was an episode uploaded earlier this month that features Mimi, who is the CEO and founder of Lune. So you can listen into that to learn more. Now that we have talked about our product recommendation for the month, I want to talk about my personal development practice for the month, but really the mantra I used. So if you're not familiar, a mantra is just like a word or a phrase that really helps you like zone in and put you in a good state. So I had two. The first one was mind the business that pays you, because I found myself being in a very interesting state of consumption and just being like, how are all these girls like doing all these vlogs and like all this stuff on TikTok, and I'm not. And then I had to realize like I wasn't minding my business. Like those girls are just minding their business and sharing their life, and so they are minding the business that pays them. And so I needed to hone in the first 2 months of February and mind the business that pays me. And in doing so, we got brought to my second mantra, which is follow the plan, not your mood. Oof. Follow the plan, not your mood. So my friend on Instagram, Rachel Kennedy, shared this, and I was like, oh my gosh, I felt so called in and so like seen at the same time, because I am somebody who is fairly intuitive and very like go with the flow. But in my business, that doesn't necessarily serve me. So I knew early on in February that I wanted to release a program for you all that was going to help you work in sync with your cycle. And even on the days that I didn't want to show up, even on the days where I was like, I just can't be bothered, I still followed like the content plan that I had built out. I still thought about what would serve my potential clients the best, and I created around that. So I would say that has been my personal development tip. And like it really has just transformed my business and life in like so many great ways. So that's the personal development tip. Now we have to get into the hacks. So I use 2 hacks specifically. There's a hack for the period and PMS, and then I have a hack for productivity. So let's go with the period and PMS hack. The hack is DailyFlo, which is my cycle support planner and habit tracker. The reason I'm choosing this one is because what I have noticed is There's this need to simplify cycle syncing and transforming your period. And I find that most people don't know where to start. And if I were you and I'm listening to all these people talk about cycle syncing, I would want a really good, solid starting point. And so DailyFlo is that solid starting point. It is the 5 habits that you can stack specific not only to your period, but your overall health. Okay. And this is contributing to 1, organizing your meals, just like I teach you, nurturing your nervous system, just like we talk about, and executing daily. Okay. And the way that DailyFlo is broken down is that the habits that you're implementing actually overflow into other areas of focus when it comes to your health, such as brain health, such as hormonal health, such as gut health. And I really just feel like it is the best kept secret. And mind you, it took me 5 years of living in sync with my cycle, 4 years of teaching people how to align with their cycle to create this $10 resource. It is quite literally probably the best $10 you could spend on your health, hands down, because it is just so practical. And it has you tracking your habits for 90 days because it takes an egg 100 days to develop. And I believe that within 3 full cycles, you'll actually see the transformation in your period and other areas of health. So like that is quite literally the best period in PMS hack that I have for the month for you. Now, you can head to the show notes and grab that. Okay. Like I said, it's just $10 and it's phenomenal. And I have an update coming to it for March too, which is really, really exciting. Now, let's get into my favorite hack of the month, which has been a productivity hack, which is the WORKflo workshop. Now, you might be thinking, Berri, I cannot believe you have the audacity to say this is your favorite productivity hack, but it really is. And yes, I do have that much audacity. And the reason I have this level of audacity is because I watched exactly what the WORKflo workshop did in my business. So I launched this workshop in sync with my cycle because I was testing out what I was teaching you. And I wanted to be able to show you all proof of how it works. So WORKflo really centers around increasing your productivity, your performance, and ultimately your profits, whether you are a homemaker, a working professional, or an entrepreneur. Okay, so I'm teaching you how the brain is changing throughout each phase of your cycle and how you can actually do it. And there's a whole video library for like healthcare workers, homemakers, working professionals, artists, creatives. Like it's a phenomenal workshop series, right? So if you want to grab that, you can head to the show notes. It's the best $99 that you might spend specific to your like productivity, okay? But I digress. What I loved seeing and why I'm sharing this as the hack is because of the numbers and the data. I've never been one to share how much money I really make because I think it's very specific to the kind of person you are and what it is you do. Now, I have multiple streams of income, but I want to share with you specifically the income that I was able to make passively, quote unquote, off of the WORKflo workshop. And I'll also share with you what I was able to make, quote unquote, passively from my business. And specifically, we're going to go revenue. I'm going to share with you my profit. I'm going to share with you my loss. And then I'm going to break down some things because I know a lot of you who listen to the podcast are entrepreneurs, but also a lot of you work in network marketing, which I think is super cool, or have your own like side hustle. Now, if you work as a 9-to-5 or you're a working professional, don't necessarily assume this is going to translate into your salary. You feel me? Okay. And if you want to know how to like work smarter rather than harder in order to increase your salary, perhaps, then do me a solid and grab the WORKflo workshop and watch the stuff for working professionals. But I digress. So just from the WORKflo workshop series and my digital habit tracker, I made $1,600. Now I'm cutting myself a day short because I'm recording this in advance, but I made just under $1,600. Technically, it was like $1,582.41. I lost $78, I'm sorry, and I profited 1404. Now, you might be thinking, wow, why do I care? Because one of the things that I did was I followed the plan, but I noticed an uptick in sales and money coming into my business the day I started ovulating. Why did that happen? Because I started talking about this more. I started selling the product, right? Because I knew during ovulation, I was going to be able to communicate differently. Not only this, but I batch recorded content. So when I got into my late luteal phase, like I am right now, I didn't have to worry about what I needed to talk about. Now, a few things I want to preface because I know some of you guys like to know where the money went. So the 178 that I lost, one was my website, Squarespace subscription. Okay, my Libsyn, which is how I record my podcast and get it to you, my Canva, and my Zoom. My total business expenses for the month was just $91, right? Then I spent another $60 because I thought I canceled a subscription service that apparently wasn't canceled. And instead of the company refunding me, they just took the money. And I was like, well, you need it more than I do. And then number two, I spent $27 on some Pinterest templates, which, that's neither here nor there, right? So that's where the loss is. And then I just profited literally everything else. Still have to do a few more numbers to divvy things up. But again, I'm sharing this because you can literally see an uptick in my sales. And what's so cool is I actually got to utilize a screenshot of my sales as part of the marketing for WORKflo just to share with people how it actually is possible to increase your performance, your productivity, and your profits in sync with your menstrual cycle. And that's why, again, I'm sharing this with you all, not because I want you guys to know oh, this is how much money came in passively from my digital products. This doesn't include client work. This doesn't include content creation stuff. This doesn't include our rental property or anything like that. This is solely just off of literally a digital planner and an online workshop. This is the best thing you can do for yourself if you want to work smarter rather than harder. What you're able to do when you understand how your brain works, how your energy fluctuates, and how that is impacting your cycle and vice versa will just benefit you time and time again. And I can't stress enough that if you want to really have a freedom-based lifestyle, really just have some extra cash on the side, for instance, have more time to spend with your partner or your kids or whatever it is. If you want to be in that next seat in your career, maybe you want to be partner at your firm, you might want to consider working in sync with your cycle, really creating your specific workflow so that you can increase productivity, performance, and profits. And let me just specify, when I say profits, I'm not just talking about dollar signs. I think it's easy to understand dollar signs, but profiting could be having more time with your family because you know how to do certain things throughout the month that's okay, this is high energy and I can get all of this knocked out and then later in the month I can chill. When I say profits, I'm talking about literally I love having the freedom and liberty to shut my computer at 3 p.m. and reset my house before my boyfriend walks in the door. And if we have his kids from his previous marriage, if his kids are visiting, being able to fully focus on them. That's the profit I am here for. I'm so all about, right? The profit that's been nice, yes, is seeing that dollar sign, but also just being able to have these interactions with you where I'm producing higher quality content and more content because I'm working more intentionally. If that's what you want to do is work and be more strategic and intentional with how you show up and why you show up and the way you show up, you definitely want to implement the WORKflo productivity hacks at the end of the day. So just to recap with you, okay, the product of the month was Steady Mood from Lune. The personal development tip, the first mantra was mind the business that pays you. The second mantra is follow the plan, not your mood. My third little tip for you was actually my period hack, which is DailyFlo. Again, the best $10 you can really invest in your overall health. And my productivity hack is WORKflo, my workshop series, which again is $99, and you can literally begin to see the ROI on that the moment you implement the different things that I teach. Now, like I said, I have never done a month in review type situation, but I do think I'm going to continue sharing these just because I can feel how lit up I am by just recapping the highlights of the month and sharing a little bit of a low light. So dramatic, I know, but that's life. It's got its highlights and its lowlights, and at the end of the day, I really hope this has been supportive to you. Do me a solid and actually share those with the girlies who you know are dealing with burnout or dealing with really painful periods, because they need to know what we're talking about next month, especially with it being Endometriosis Awareness Month. As always, I'm sending you big love and lots of flowy and healing vibes, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey friend, if you enjoyed today's episode, can you do me a solid and leave a rating and review? And if you have some friends going through a different period of life where they want a little bit more peace, or perhaps they just want a better period, make sure you share this with them, because here we're all about having a period and a life, an enjoyable one at that. As always, I'm sending big love and flowy vibes.